The Subaru WRX STI has a lot of respect out there, and while many people will make fun of it because it is somewhat expensive, those that know. A new generation STI is in the works, and from what we've heard, it will make north of 400 horsepower, but until that happens, Subaru is pumping out special editions of the WRX STI, and this one here is called the Series White. Today I'll give you a tour, and then I'll give you my opinion on what I think about it, but before I do, make sure you hit subscribe and like, and let's do this. Alright, before we get into everything else, let's take a look at some of the cool and interesting things that you should know. Let's start off with the whole Series White thing. Does it really do anything for the WRX STI besides make it look a little cooler? Of course it does. We'll talk about the exterior and the interior a little bit later, so let's get into what performance enhancements come with the Series White. First up, you get a built-in STI Sport Tune suspension, and along with the Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 tires, this thing gets super grippy when you're throwing it into corners. You also get an updated heavy-duty steering rack mounts that help the steering response quite a bit. Next up, Subaru has upgraded the brakes to these awesome monoblock Brembo brake calipers. Alright, now that we've gotten some of the Series White performance upgrades out of the way, let's take a look at some of the other cool and interesting things. Next up, the infotainment system here isn't that exciting, but you do have Apple CarPlay and you do have Android Auto, but the coolest thing here is this little screen right there. Now, personally, I'm not a huge fan of dual screen infotainment systems or a dual screen setup in any car, but here it kind of makes sense and there are some pretty cool gimmicks, so let's take a look. So this tiny screen right there is controlled through this button right here, and there's a bunch of information you can circle through, like your performance page, your average trip fuel economy, your incline, and then your range and some more fuel economy information, your date, and that's about it. But it's pretty useful because usually that information is in the driver gauge cluster display, but it's nice to have it have its own screen. But one of the coolest things here, though, is when you get into settings and you go into time and date, and you'll see something called birthday and anniversary. So basically, when you get into a birthday or anniversary page, you can set the date and a name along with that, and the Subaru WRX STI will remind you when that birthday is. So I've set my birthday to today. My birthday's not really today. Let's start it up and see what it does. It'll go through like a systems check screen first, and it looks really cool, very nice. And then it wishes me a very happy birthday. Now, since this is a sports car and you have quad exhaust, we do have to hear what it sounds like, so let's take a listen. Alright, now let's get into the pricing and how much this thing costs. The regular WRX STI starts at $36,995. The Series White here starts at $42,694. As tested here, you're looking at $43,959. Now, just like the base WRX STI, the Series White also comes with a long list of standard features because you do pay quite a bit of money for these things. Again, you get a 7-inch touchscreen display with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard. You get heated seats, and these actually get really, really hot. You also get keyless entry with push-button start, but I love how you can see where the keyhole was supposed to be. That's pretty funny. You also get 4 months free of Sirius XM radio because that's useful these days. But the Series White gets these awesome Recaro seats as standard, and on the regular WRX STI, these cost an extra $2,250, and I have to say these seats are pretty comfortable. Of course, the Series White does demand a little bit of a higher price tag because these are limited edition. Subaru will only be making 500 units of the WRX STI Series White, and they will also be making just 500 units of the WRX Series White. You can reserve one today on their website. Now let's get into power and performance. Power comes from a 2.5 liter Boxer 4-cylinder engine that's turbocharged, and it makes 310 horsepower and 290 pound-feet of torque, and you can only get it with a 6-speed manual transmission. And that will help you go from 0 to 60 in just 5.6 seconds with a top speed of 159 miles an hour. If you want to be quicker to 60, consider getting the S209, which will do 0 to 60 in less than 5 seconds. So if you want to be faster, go for that one. Alright, so when it comes to drive modes, you have 3 main drive modes which you can switch from right here. You have Sport, Sport Sharp, or Sport hashtag as the kids would call it these days, and Intelligent. So to break it down, Intelligent could be used for your daily commute. Sport can be used if you want to have a little bit more fun, and then Sport Sharp is when you're feeling pretty crazy and you want to just go completely insane. So what's this auto manual C.diff silver area here? This is the driver center control differential. So you can basically set this to auto, and that's what I would do about 99% of the time. What this does is it messes around with the torque ratio based on how you drive and the road conditions. So once you're in auto, you can have this auto plus or auto minus, and what that basically means is when you're in auto minus, you're sending more power to the back, and when you're in auto plus, you're sending more power to the front. Now once you pop it in manual mode, it gets a little bit more technical and the computer doesn't make many of the decisions. Now, as a warning, once you are in manual mode, and if you don't know what you're doing, and I'm in that category as well because I'm not Mr. Know-It-All, you can do some serious damage to your STI. But yeah, once you activate manual mode, you can mess around with the C.diff and you can send it all the way back. So all the power goes to the back and it makes it more rear wheel drive bias. And if you move the C.diff in manual mode all the way to the front, you would lock it, and that basically is only to be used if you're a rally race car driver. Don't use this when you're just driving this daily. It's not the mode to be in. And if you don't know what you're doing, you can really screw up your car. I recommend just being in auto and just staying there and just selecting through your regular drive modes of sport, hashtag sport and intelligent. I personally like to be in sport sharp because I like to have a little bit more fun than the sport mode. And it's a really good feel if you're in sport sharp. Now let's take a closer look at the exterior design, because not much has changed for the WRX STI at all, but the Series White here does get some exclusive and pretty cool design touches. So when it comes to the looks, the Series White gets a bunch of exclusive elements, including ceramic white exterior paint, so you can only get it in this color. You have 19-inch matte bronze wheels, which I think look absolutely cool. These are probably one of my favorite wheels of 2020. You also get crystal black silica side mirrors, some cool side STI badging, that looks really dope. You also get matte black rear badging, which looks really cool, and a restyled mesh grille with an STI badge and cherry blossom red accents, which give this quite a bit of a nice presence. Do I think it looks cool? Subaru isn't known for being the most exciting brand when it comes to exterior design, but I will say the WRX here does have some cool touches, like the massive spoiler that probably annoys some people out there, and then you have this really cool hood scoop in the front. So overall it looks pretty aggressive, but yeah, I would say it's getting a little bit outdated. Other than that, there are no major design upgrades, and it's pretty much the same WRX STI that we've been seeing for years. Next up, let's hop inside and check out the interior. And again, just like the outside, not much has changed on the inside, so let's take a closer look. So I've already shown you much of the interior throughout this video, but let's just take a seat inside here and talk about quality and design. Overall, it feels pretty old school JDM in here. And once you start feeling around, there is some soft touch materials around here. So the dash is soft touch. This area above this tiny little screen is soft touch. The door panels here are soft touch. But once you get to the lesser visible areas down here, you have hard plastic, hard plastic, hard plastic. It's not terrible, but everything else around within your reach is soft touch, so that's pretty nice. And that may be a bit disappointing for a car that cost over $42,000, but the thing here is that this car is based on a car that starts around $18,000, so it's not that surprising. Now let's hop in the back seat and see what kind of rear legroom you're working with. You have 35.4 inches of rear legroom. I'm about 6 foot tall, that's my seating position. And as you can see, not terrible, but not great either. And if you want some more legroom, again, as always, just sit behind the passenger and ask them to move up kindly. Now, before I move on and give you my opinion on how it is to drive the WRX STI Series White, let me point out a few random things that I love to show all of you. You have 4 cup holders, 2 in the front for the front passengers and 2 in the back under the center armrest. Besides all the crap that I have in here, you have 2 USB ports and 1 auxiliary port, so you can stay well connected. Here are what the keys look like on the WRX STI Series White. They're not white, they're just regular Subaru keys. Door open and close sound from the outside and from the inside. Quite solid. Last but not least, let's hear how the horn sounds on the 2020 Subaru WRX STI Series White. That's a long name. Yeah, pretty Subaru. Nothing exciting. And now that I've given you a tour of the 2020 Subaru WRX STI Series White, let me give you my opinion on what I think about this $43,000 plus Subaru. Let's get to it. The STI overall has never been about horsepower or 0 to 60 times. This thing is all about how it moves and handles. When it comes to handling, this thing is simply outstanding. It's probably going to be one of the most amazing handling cars you'll ever drive in your life. It's so simple to just throw this thing into corners, and the way it grips, it's just simply mind-blowing. Wow. Jesus. Acceleration isn't bad. The Series White here will do 0 to 60 in about 5.6 seconds. The S206 will do it in under 5 seconds, so if you want to go faster, go for the S206. That being said, the STI is definitely aging. The interior here is definitely getting old. It really feels old school JDM in here. I kind of enjoy that, but it's not as advanced as people would expect from a car in this price tag. The special edition Series White here cost over $42,000. This one here is tested is above $43,000, and nothing in here justifies that price tag besides the performance. Now, if you don't want to pay that kind of money, you can get the non-Series White base model STI, which starts right above $37,000. And I still think that's a lot, but hey, that's what you're working with for now. Let me know in the comments below if you would spend over $37,000 on an STI or even over $42,000 on a special edition Series White. Either way, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week. Make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and on TikTok. My handle is @OmarDrives. I'll see you next week. Take care. Peace. Downshift. It handles great, and it accelerates pretty nicely too.